Seraphim 17 once again. This is Metal Gear Solid 3 European Extreme Difficulty video walkthrough. We're going to be moving through the warehouse to Sokrovenno, which is the area just before the end, and then we're going to be fighting the joy that is the end, which is kind of funny. I've been using a speedrun technique to kill this boss who's coming up, and the technique itself looks really simple, but the problem with it, and the problem with a lot of speedrun techniques, is the people doing them are so good at them that they never get them wrong, and they do them perfectly, and they know all the subtleties and all the nuance of the strategy. And when you search for it, you can't find the subtlety or the nuance. And because, you know, I just wanted to record this quite quickly before Dark Souls 2 and Lightning Returns, I didn't really have time to do all that much research or watch streams and ask the streamers and stuff, so I kind of struggled to get the strategy right, and I couldn't get it to work because I only had 2 out of 3 stun grenades, and even then, hitting the boss with the stun grenade to make him flinch before he throws a stun grenade seemed to be completely random for me. And I know that it's not, because I saw a guy do it perfectly and it looked amazing, and it's probably just, you know, my inability to do that trick. But what I'll do is I'll explain the trick to you, and you'll get to practice yourself. And it's a really effective move, and it looks fantastic when you get it right. It's just the amount of times where he had life left because I didn't have the 3rd stun grenade made it so that after that initial beginning, it was completely random and bullshit afterwards, because he would run to a random spot, I would find him again, and I'd try and get the trick, and it'd just not go well, or it'd take too much time. So I ended up restarting until I got a decent enough run. And the biggest problem with the end fight is the checkpoints. This game, if you don't know, checkpoints between loading screens, so when you move between areas, it saves. So if you were to retry when you die, you would retry in between the areas in the middle of those fights, and it's not really what you want to do. You want to take him from the beginning, and unlike the other bosses or the other scenarios, you can just wait for the boss to kill you, and you can restart and you can try again, and, you know, hopefully you can improve it, and it's nice and quick. Well, if you let the end kill you, you don't die. He tranks you and you end up being in a prison somewhere. So it's probably the trickiest boss fight to restart on, just because you have to quit the game and reload. And if you're the person going for a Foxhound rank, which is you're doing that anyway every time you get spotted, you probably don't have the problems with that. But I do, because I'm not going for that rank, and I'm not a patient person, so having to quit out of the game and reload all the time is a minute or 2 longer than I ever want to spend doing that, and it can get really frustrating unless, you know, you accept it, and I hadn't quite accepted it when I was fighting the end, so it did frustrate me, and I was on him for about 40 minutes, and the funny thing is, the way I normally kill him, I was really good at, and that involved counter-sniping him with the SVD. But because this was going to be a non-lethal playthrough, my strategy for fighting him doesn't exist, because you have to do it with the pistol, because you don't have the Mosin Nagant. So I went from the end being the boss I knew the most, and the boss I was most comfortable with, to him being one of the biggest bastards in this guide, even though he isn't hard. It's such a funny thing. But what you want to do before the first checkpoint is, you want to make sure you've got the cigarette gas on, you want to make sure you've got both stuns and smoke grenades on, both of them full, preferably, and the Mark 22. That is all you're going to need. If you want to get up the hills quicker, or you want to be a smaller profile, you can use the box, but you don't have to, it's entirely up to you. So sneaking through this area, I go on the left-hand side, and I'm going to be tranking a few people, because the path that I was doing on this worked every so often, but then 1 or 2 guards would catch me out, and after a while it got a little bit frustrating, so I just decided to shoot them. For instance, this guy here, if you move forward, a bunch of birds will scuttle, and it alerted him every single time. And then sometimes it wouldn't do it. It was really strange, and didn't make too much sense, but there's quite a lot of dudes here, so you need to be careful. I think there's about 3 of them in this room. I can see the first one there. So I'm going to quickly trank him, and as I move forward, I'm going to see the next one. He is stood there, do you see him? So I'm going to trank him, just as he saw me. And I think there's might be one more. You'll notice I'm always doing this with bodies, because I try and replenish my Mark 22 ammo, because I use it a lot more than, you know, a lot of really good players of this game. They just run past everything because they've done it so many times and they're so experienced with it. But I try to find paths running past things, and then when I get caught a load of times, I think just, I'm going to shoot people now because this is getting a little bit frustrating. But that's the end of the video, guys, so thank you for watching. I hope you're enjoying it, and you take care now.